Our guest speaker today is Cliff Cole, the Paulding County School District Superintendent. And I'm sure he's going to be touching on a lot of things that are going on in the world of the schools. I know there's a lot going on. I know there's a lot of talk about the millage rate.
Timer here so that we don't go too long. Oh, thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for having me. I always like to start let me start with introductions with our staff. We have Dr. Sue Myers, who is the Executive Director for School Improvement, Professional Learning. Suzanne Woolley, who is our Director of Communications. Steve Barnett, Chief Financial Officer. Clark Maggart, Executive Director for Human Resources. And Dr. Brian Otai, Associate Superintendent. So they're actually my support personnel. So if there's something I can't answer, that's the group back there that's going to help me out. So, and again, thank you to Ms. Cobb for being here. Also, as I look around the room, there's a lot of partners in education that are in the room. So I'd like to say thank you for your support of the school district and also support of our Education Foundation. And at the end today, I am going to ask Jim to come up and say a few words. I always like to start with our vision, which is to provide a safe, healthy, supportive environment focused on learning and committed to high academic achievement. Through the shared responsibilities of all stakeholders, students will be prepared as lifelong learners and as participating, contributing members of our dynamic and diverse community. Now, we've had that vision for a while, and we're actually in the process of developing our next 5-year strategic plan. We're working with the Georgia Leadership Institute of School Improvement and Georgia School Boards Association. We had an initial stakeholders meeting back in the spring. I had a large group there. And then September 7th and 8th, we have a focus group that will continue with that process. And the plan is to roll out a new strategic plan and revise or rewrite our vision statement for the 17-18 school year. So it's quite a lengthy process, but we thought it would be good to have some outside eyes and outside support to come in and assist us with that. The mission is to prepare all students for success today and tomorrow. That was revised approximately a year ago, a year and a half ago, and again, we will maintain that because we think it's important to prepare students, for today and looking into the future. We had a great start to the school year. I was telling people after the first week of school, it did not feel like the first week of school, so that's positive. We had a little over 28,700 students in our schools. It's about 100 students off our projection, which we think we will meet our projection. We have 259 buses on the road each day, transporting over 21,000 students each day. Our buses, if you routed them, would actually go to California, New York, back. So great start. Of course, we have 33 schools, 19 elementary, 9 middle, 5 high. And then we have New Hope Education Center, which I'll talk a little bit about later. New Hope originally was for our alternative school, but we have expanded that to an alternative learning for academic success as an online learning. And then this year we opened the Paulding Virtual Academy, the PVA, in which basically students have the opportunity to come in to do online learning or blended learning with the teacher in the classroom, and we're looking to continue to grow that. And like I said, I'll touch base on that a little bit more later. A couple other things that started the school year off on a positive note. Again, we were very excited about the Paulding Virtual Academy. We actually completed and opened a 38 classroom addition at Shelton Elementary School that included a new cafetorium, cafe with a stage on it, fine arts area. We completed renovations at McGarity Elementary School, which if you're familiar with McGarity, you've been in there, or haven't been in there this school year, you need to go by and visit McGarity. We have renovated the entrance, all the classrooms, new lighting, new ceiling tile, HVAC paint. It's just a beautiful, beautiful job. We're in the process of renovating the old PB Rich middle school, then elementary school. You may recall that we closed PB Rich back in 2010, 12, for students. And at that time, just the cost of doing the renovations on that building and the small number of students wasn't feasible. But we're looking at renovating it for professional learning facility for our staff. And then also we relocate our food nutrition department there, and then also our testing department. We have approximately a little over 3,300 employees. Of our teaching staff, we have 68% of our teachers that hold advanced degrees. And as I mentioned about us going through our strategic plan, our last accreditation visit, and I think I spoke to you guys about that time, was in October 2013. So after we go through our strategic plan, we will actually start the accreditation process over again. This year, our budget was approximately $300 million. The general operating fund budget, $244 million. I know millage rate was mentioned a little, but I'm going to ask Steve Barnett if it's okay with you guys to come up and talk about budget. Steve and Ms. Cobb can tell you, Steve has been talking about budget pretty consistently for the past 6-8 months, and he probably can do it with just standing up here without looking at any notes. So, Steve, come on up.
Good afternoon. I am a part of the entourage. I've never been in an entourage before. It's kind of, but I just was going to go through a couple of slides for you. Try not to bore you too much. I know you've eaten now and you're relaxed, and probably the worst time to talk accounting. But I thought we'd talk about a couple things that you might find interesting. One thing, just as the superintendent mentioned, we have a $300 million budget. When you say that number, it's just almost unreal when you think about how much money that is. But when you really think about how large our school district is, it's really extraordinary. And I work the numbers every day, and sometimes I lose track of, we have a larger enrollment than Georgia Tech, was I was going to say, but I thought that might bring jokes. So I won't say that. But of our enrollment, if you took our enrollment and said, let's have a meeting, let's get our entire student population together and have a meeting. You went down to Phillips Arena. Most of us have probably been in Phillips Arena. We would fill up Phillips Arena, and we'd still have about 10,000 students to put somewhere. So let's say we go up the road, we would fill up the Fox Theater as well. We still would have thousands left over. So let's say we go to Rome, to the Brave Stadium there in Rome. We would fill up that stadium as well, and still have about 700 kids we need to put somewhere. I mean, that's just how the scale of what we deal with. It really is extraordinary. But a couple things I was going to mention about the budget. Over to the far right is really what I was going to draw to your attention. What you see there in those pie charts is that's the source of revenue for the average school district in Georgia. That's the larger pie chart there. We are at the bottom right there just as a comparison for this year's budget. So on average, around 41% of a school district's funds come from local sources. And one thing that's unique about Paulding is only around 29% of our revenue comes from local sources. The good news is the state's there to kind of help step in and bridge that gap, and that's why you see our state sources there. That's the blue, the biggest piece of the pie there. We're at 67% compared to the average of 52%. That's the state kind of stepping in and helping us out. So we are, to give you some comparisons, we are the 13th largest school district in Georgia. There's 180 school districts in the state. The smallest is Tolliver County. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Tolliver. 177 students. And it goes all the way up to Gwinnett, which is 177,000. And so there are 35 school districts out of the 180. There's 35 that have more than 10,000 students. And of course, we're in that category. So 35 with more than 10,000, and we are the 13th in that 35, in that group of 35. When it comes to local revenue, though, we rank 35th out of those 35. So we're at the bottom when it comes to local revenue. When it comes to state revenue sources, we're actually number 2. But on balance, if you look at it in total, we're of the 35 largest school districts, we're the 13th as far as enrollment, but we're 28th when it comes to all sources of revenue. So we have revenue challenges in the school district is really kind of the message I wanted to deliver there. And it's really driven by 2 things. One I talk about probably every time I stand up is Paulding is just unique in that we have more people in our homes than any of our comparable school districts. And those people in those homes are school-age children. So it hurts us from a funding standpoint because someone like me who might have 5 kids who's kind of skewing the numbers, I pay one property tax bill, but I have 5 kids, and that's just a unique feature of Paulding. We just have more school-age children in our home than any comparable school district. And of course, the commercial and industrial challenges for the county. I think if you just look, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but if you just look at land use, around 3% of Paulding County is used for either commercial or industrial, around 3%. In Bartow, that number is 6%. And in Douglas, that number is 15%. So that lack of commercial and industry does affect us greatly. And then, of course, like I said, just having more people in our homes. Here is just a snapshot of how we plan to spend the budget this year that the board approved. And I won't go into a lot of detail here. I just wanted you to see what you're looking at there are just functions. That's the broadest category of how we record expenditures. So the easiest way to think of it is the biggest one there in blue, that's instruction. That's all the money we spent under the function of instruction. And then we may transport students, that's a function. We maintain our buildings, that's a function. So this is just sort of a 40,000 feet view of how we will spend our funds this year. And really the thing I wanted to mention is, if you start at the very top of that and you kind of go all the way around the pie chart there, you have to get all the way back up to that last little sliver that says 2%. Everything else that you see on there is actually spent out at the schools. And I think it's one of the great things about Paulding and the way that we budget and the board and the superintendent elect to spend the money. We spend half as much on what would be called central office expenditures. That's business services, the group I'm over, and general administration. Central office sort of centric expenditures only account for around 2% of our budget. Like I said, every comparable school district we're up against, the statewide average is double that. And so it's one of the ways that we actually spend more on instruction than any of our comparable school districts, or the statewide average. We spend 69% in the function of instruction. Again, that's better than any comparable school district in the area. That's better than the statewide average. And that's just a function, like I said, of the choices that the board makes. Being in private industry, you can relate to your CFO normally gets involved in more spending decisions in the private sector. In the public sector, one thing I had to get used to when I made the switch is you really don't have, you're just there to report the news. You don't get to make it anymore. It's really the board and the superintendent that makes spending decisions, and we hopefully just give them the information they need, to make an informed decision. So this is really a byproduct of the board and the superintendents where they want to spend the money, and we push an unusual amount, let's just say, out to the schools. That is a recurring theme for the district. This is just another way to look at those expenditures. This is compared to some of our comparable school districts. How much we spend per FTE or per student. And you can see we're right there, at the bottom. I think Hall County is the only one we really compete with, unfortunately, at the bottom as far as how much we are able to spend per student. But again, what we spend is on things I think that matter the most, like instruction and things like that. Just a couple other quick slides. I wanted to mention this to you because it was just in the news. The Governor's Office of Student Achievement and the Department of Education have been tasked to produce something called a financial efficiency star rating. And really all that is they take a 3-year look at both your performance as a school district and also how much money you spent. And basically it's just efficiency. It's, hey, who's getting the most out by putting the least in. That's really what the efficiency star rating is about. So if you get a 5, it's basically saying, hey, of your CCRPI scores, your measure of student achievement, you're in the 90th above percentile, but you're also in the low spending percentile of 0 to 19. So you're spending the least amount of money to get the most output or the most success with your students. We were a number 4, which is actually really high. I think that's in the top 10% for the state. I think there were only 9 school districts that did better than Paulding. And so that was something that we were proud of. So
Steve, I think there was only 1 5, if I'm correct.
Yeah, there were very few 5s, but I mean, to be in that category, it really is an exceptional situation. So I wanted to show you just a snapshot of our 10-year property tax history. I thought you might find this interesting. Again, this is 10 years plus I put the FY17 projection over there on the far right. But of course, I don't have to tell you guys this. You lived it with us. Our peak for the school system was back in FY9, which was the 2008 tax year, when we collected right at $74 million in property taxes to support the school system. Since in those years, those subsequent years, when we went through the Great Recession, we actually bottomed out in 14 for us. We were almost $26 million lower. We lost a third of our local revenue in just those few years. And since then, we've started to recover. I should also mention during that entire time period, we essentially kept the same millage rate. We made one little modification back in, I think it was 14, but it was very minor. So essentially the same millage rate during that entire period. That's just a reflection of how the digest declined in those years. We're still around $11 million off that high water mark back in 2009 in the 17 budget. So we still have a way to go to get back to where we were. During that same time period, by the way, the 2009 to today, we're educating about 700 more students. So we haven't declined in student population, but we certainly have declined in revenue, and hopefully are on our way back to where we once were. I think that is it for my part. Thanks for not falling asleep. I didn't notice too many of you. There was a little of that, but not much.
Any questions regarding budget? Steve standing up here. Put you on the spot.
No?
All right, thanks, Steve. Like you said, I knew he would be able to go through that with ease. Now, just touch base on the academics, four-year graduation rate, and I want to tell you, when you talk about graduation rates, it's really across the state. It's really not comparing apples to apples. For us in our school district, we will do our best to graduate every student within our district, and they will come out with a Paulding County School District diploma. There are districts across the state that if a student is struggling, they will often either enroll them into an online high school, or there are also centers within the state where students can go and basically complete their high school graduation, but it will not count against a specific high school or county's graduation rate. So we do not enroll our students in a online program to get their diploma. All of ours will go through the district. But just with that being said, we are a little above the state average. 2014, we're at 77.6% graduation rate. 2015, we were at 79.8% graduation rate. And again, that is a four-year graduation rate. That's from the time the students enter high school, and then they have 4 years to graduate. So we expect to see that continue to increase, but as I said, we're showing progress. When we look at our milestones, this is the percent of Paulding students that met or exceeded the standards. Again, this is a snapshot. We were higher than the state in all the gateway grades, which would be your 3rd, 5th, and 8th grade. And basically, none of these students had to retest to pass. Students do have an opportunity to retest, but again, those numbers were not included in here. And we actually scored again above the state in all the subject areas for grades 3 through 8 and levels 2, 3, and 4. So that included all of those students. But again, we've shown progress each year. CCRPI, the College and Career Ready Performance Index. This is what we used to refer to as the adequate yearly progress, and it's calculated for each school. Each school will have a CCRPI index, and then the district will have a CCRI index. And it's basically 3 components. You have your achievement points, which would be your test scores, your graduation rate. You have your progress points, which is student growth, so the growth the students will show from one year to the next. And then you have your achievement gap points, which is takes the lowest 25% of the state average and compare it to those students. But within those 3 components, there are over 80 indicators that are built in within. So to go through every one of them would be very difficult. But again, you can see back in 2012, Georgia outperformed Paulding County with the CCRPI index. 2015, we're ahead of the state. I will also tell you that the indicators and components of the CCRPI index have changed every year. So you basically, the first year, 2012, you sort of have to go back and figure out what you're going to be judged on or what they're looking at. But again, those indicators have continuously changed every year to some degree. which makes it a challenge for school districts across the state. I mentioned the Paulding Virtual Academy a little earlier. It opened this year. We have 74 students this year. Our goal was to open it with 100. But basically, just a little background there. We received a $10,000 planning grant from the Governor's Office of Student Achievement to develop Paulding Virtual Academy. And basically, it allowed personnel to visit different sites. We even had a group that went to Colorado to look at a virtual academy out there. And then they also applied for another $10,000 scholarship, and it was like Shark Tank, the TV show, where they actually had to go on in front of a panel and pitch their ideas for the virtual academy. And again, we received $10,000 for that, and that money is being used to get endorsements for teachers out there for online learning. We're currently applying for a $700,000 implementation grant from GOSA, basically to help implement the mission of the Paulding Virtual Academy, which is to provide an individualized blended learning program to serve students in non-traditional, focused environment, emphasizing career skill development and building post-secondary connections required for future success. So it's really an idea for students that whether they're not comfortable being in a traditional high school setting, to those students who are ready to move on, take online classes, doing some dual enrollment. Then also for extra support, students that for some reason or the other, need to get ahead, but there's a blended learning there. So you have your teacher in there, and you also have your online learning to support those students. As I mentioned earlier, New Hope Learning Center initially opened as the alternative school. We have grown it. Our next phase, we've actually applied for a College and Career Academy grant. And basically, the idea behind the College and Career Academy is for the school to partner with businesses in the community, and then also some of the local colleges, such as Chattahoochee Tech. And the students will receive, specific training and develop specific skills while they're still in high school in a career path. So when they finish high school, they will actually come out with a certification in a specific field. They can also come out with dual enrolled as much as an associate's degree, ready to enter into the workforce. Again, whether it's a skilled area or to continue their education. The focus there will be on healthcare because of Wellstar. I don't think we mentioned this earlier, but the school district's the second largest employer in Paulding County. Wellstar now is the largest employer. But the career pathway focus would be in healthcare, manufacturing / aerospace, in energy. We have some people in the room with the energy field, and then also industrial maintenance. But again, it was basically a $3.1 million grant that we're applying for, and about $3 million of that will be used for the renovation of the old facility out there to bring it up to standards for students. We will actually know about that grant in December, so we'll keep you updated on that. But that's one of the exciting things that's going on. We hear so much about STEAM. STEM. One step ahead. STEM, and what we're doing for STEM. Paulding County Academy of Science, Research, and Medicine is our academy at Paulding County High School. Students there are in a STEM based program, and they are actively pursuing their STEM certification in the state of Georgia. So hopefully that will be our first STEM certified school in Paulding County. We have several of our schools that are implementing STEM subject through integration in their classrooms, initiatives within. Our students participated in STEM Day last year. Several after-school programs in our middle and high schools that include robotics, environmental, and science clubs. Elementary schools participated at the Science Olympiad at the local, regional, and state level this year. And then also schools in elementary and middle offer STEM nights focused on bringing STEM subjects to life for families throughout the district. And again, STEM is just a focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is a big push these days. All this talked about a great start to the school year, some of the things that are going on, and none of this would be accomplished without the phenomenal staff that we have out in our schools, from our support staff to our teachers to administrators. And oftentimes, I don't think we do enough to recognize those people. So a few staff I wanted to recognize today. Angie Barnett, she's a teacher at Ragsdale Elementary School. She was our 2016 Paulding County Teacher of the Year. She was recognized in May. Master Sergeant Jim Green, who's a JROTC Air Force instructor at East Paulding High School. He was named the National 2016 JROTC Outstanding Instructor of the Year. Mary Ann Parker, she's a CTA teacher at Hiram High School, was named Teacher of the Year by the Georgia Association for Career and Technical Education. Angie Johnson, who's also a CTA teacher at Hiram High School, received the Carl Perkins Service Award, again given by the Georgia Association for Career and Technical Education. And then even outside the academic area, Greg Cherry, who's the athletic director at North Paulding High School, was named the Region 4 6A Athletic Director of the Year. So some positive things. And last but not least, I'm saving this one because this guy deserves his own slide. Mark Peterson. If you guys don't know Mark Peterson, Mark is a science teacher at Paulding County High School. Mark has been the Paulding County District Teacher of the Year. He was finalist for the State Teacher of the Year. He was most recently awarded the Presidential Award for Excellence in Math and Science, Mathematics and Science Education. That is the highest award given to a teacher in the United States. Mark will actually visit the White House and spend 3 days next week at the White House. So he. This summer, he won the BioGenius Mentor of the Year Award. That's an international award that is given by the BioGenius Academy out of Washington, D.C. And just some of the information that was there. And it's given to the teacher that basically is a mentor, or through their actions influences others to encourage them into STEM education. But I'm just going to read you the information from their website. Mark Peterson exemplifies the best of STEM teaching nationally from his position at the Paulding County High School in Dallas, Georgia, where he covers it all from biotechnology to biology, chemistry, environmental science, and AP physics. And yes, he does teach all that. Mark has been recognized for his inspiring work with students as a 2016 Global Teacher Prize nominee, the 2015 Presidential Award of Excellence in Science Teaching State finalist, the 2015 Georgia Teacher of the Year finalist, and numerous Paulding County Teacher of the Year awards. From Mark's firsthand experience in research spanning molecular biology, behavioral ecology, and wildlife conservation, he has provided his students with the opportunity to collaborate with professionals in post-secondary institutions on experiential, graduate level based programs that prepare them for college and careers by utilizing technology to investigate real problems within their own county. He has worked collaboratively with Georgia Highlands College, Kennesaw State University, and Georgia Tech to provide them the best chances to explore their potential. Mark encourages original research leading to publishable outcomes. Through his personal interest, he has exposed his students to mixing state-of-the-art molecular biology and genetic techniques to understand species dominance in invertebrate marine ecology. These efforts are reflected in the success of his students who have placed first in the Paulding Regional Science Fair, third in the Georgia Science and Engineering Fair, and participated in the Siemens Math Science and Technology Competition. That just tells you a little bit about Mark, and we have some phenomenal teachers, and he's probably, I used to say he's our best kept secret, but over the last year, there's a lot of people that know about Mark. The other thing about Mark, he is as humble of a person that you'll know. Jim's sitting back there shaking his head. He will bring out numerous volunteers for any events. His students are very involved at Paulding County High School, but again, he deserves his own slide there. But like I said, just a great school year. It's hard to believe that we're a month in. Tomorrow we'll end the first month of school. Again, just accolades to our staff, and I often tell people that's the strength of our school district and our community, the people that are involved. So before I ask Jim to come up, and I know we're running a little short on time, do you have questions for me? Yes, sir.
How is your SPLOS going along?
SPLOS, Steve, we're a little, we just wrapped up SPLOS 4 in March of this year. SPLOS 5 kicked in of April of this year. So we're in SPLOS 5, coming in a little ahead.
We're right on projections.
So-
We ended SPLOS 4 at about 5% ahead of our projections, so we're actually doing really well.
And for those of you that are not in Paulding County or familiar, our SPLOS, the last two SPLOS 4, the first priority was to pay down our debt for debt indebtedness. And I think, Steve, was it 68% of SPLOS 4 went to pay down some of the debt that the district had incurred through bonds early on. And SPLOS 5, which we currently are in, approximately 50% of that SPLOS will go back to pay previous debt. I think right now it's bonds from 2008. So we've made a lot of strides. Jim, I'm going to have Jim come on up, and I think we talked about this last year. Jim's executive director of our Education Foundation, and Jim's always, even before he took this position, has been a big supporter of the education system, and we have a big fundraiser coming up, and let Jim talk about it a little bit.
Thank you. You know, I like following Cliff because he and I are on the same level in minds and everything else.
I'm a little taller than you.
And he always likes to say that. I don't know. Yeah. No, in all honesty, I wanted to a little, right? I wanted to let you know what's going on. See, I'm going to tell a joke if you keep going here, and you don't want to hear my jokes. In all honesty, I am proud to be a part of this school district. From a parent's perspective, I have 3 that are in this school district, and I not only get to be involved in what they do, but I'm involved in the schools every day, and I love doing that. Mark is a great example of the quality of teachers and staff that we have here. I'll give you an example. Mark not only, I don't know how he does it, I almost call him Batman. Not only does he exceed in the classroom, exceed in making connections with his students and his parents, but Mark also invests in his personal time in programs like the Foundation. Last year, we're coming up on our 3rd Extreme Family Field Day event. Last year, Mark supplied volunteers to the tune of 62 students to come out and volunteer for this program. They didn't get paid. Mark was there early, 4:30 in the morning, and setting up. And this year, he is projecting to have over 80 volunteers this year. To pull this event off, it takes over 100 volunteers to make Extreme Field Day work. And so we're extremely thankful that we have people like Kim and Shannon and Sandy and Rebecca who are here with us, and many of you that are, Raphael, that are in the community that help support us. But let me tell you, our mission for the foundation is to support and provide resources, whether that's human resources or financial, to fill the gaps of where the school district funding does not meet the need. Primarily that's in 2 areas. And one is scholarships for those that want to move on to college, whether that's technical college or whether that's the university system. 2 is provide grants in our schools for those technology and healthcare and other related items. So those are 2 primary focuses of the foundation. I sat on the board for a number of years, and I sit in this position now, and every year we look back to say, what did we do, what could we do better, and what is our new goal this year? I will tell you that this position that I sit in is really a cheerleader, and it's great to be a cheerleader because the majority of the work is done by those that are volunteering to be a part of this advisory committee for the foundation, and they do a yeoman's job. I'll give you an example. Last year, we had over 1,800 people participate in the Extreme Field Day. We raised over $27,000. Through that program, we were able to give back through our grants into the school systems over $12,000. Into scholarships, we were able to do, I think this past year, we just awarded over $24,000 in scholarships. We were able to recognize over 61 students that excelled in their school in that short period from August until October. So we were able to recognize those students as well. Whether that was athletics or academics, we recognized them on stage. And our business community, which makes this not only possible, but successful. I'm proud that we have over a 93% return rate on those that choose to sponsor our events. And that's because they see the value in it. And we work hard to make sure there's value. Every one of our events, we always ask, what's in it for our business community that's sponsoring us? How do we drive back value to them? Because from a business perspective, it might be great that we may raise this year $30,000, but if it's the only time these sponsors come out and they don't want to come back out next year, then we've lost. And so we want to make sure that we continue to add that value. So three events that we do every year. And the first one is Extreme Field Day, October 15th. We have some flyers in the back there. We're going to have a packed day again. We start off, it's going to be at Hiram Elementary. We start off with our 5K, 10K race. We'll run through historic downtown as well as parts of the Silver Comet Trail. Right after that, we'll go into some cheer competitions from our local schools, our feeder clubs, as well as our community parks. They'll be doing some cheer. We'll also go and have some other types of performances, some of them from, I know that karate is part of that. There's some singing going on. And then we have a human maze challenge. And if you have ever heard or participated in our program, we've always had an obstacle course. We have designed and built an obstacle course. It was fantastic. We changed it up this year, and we said, based on some feedback, we're going to add some of the obstacle course elements, but it's really going to be a maze. And our goal is that you can't complete the maze your first time in the set amount of time. So it's a timed maze. We'll give you 3 chances to go through and to figure out. There's some puzzles that you have to figure out. There's some walls you have to overcome. There's some activities you have to do to be able to get through the maze. And so our goal is to make it challenging yet fun, because we want parents, students, teachers, and our coaches all to be a part of this. And our athletic department has gotten behind it. And now we're going to see again this year, mascot versus mascot from these schools attempt this as well. And I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but we're going to have district leadership come out and do this as well this year, like we did last year. And we're looking forward to that. So that's one of our major events. The other two that you may have heard about is we do a Casino Royale every year in February. And last year we were grateful for Wellstar Paulding to host that event. And they've asked us back again this year, so be looking for that. That'll be a black tie optional event in February, probably mid-February around Valentine's, and we'll have that theme this year. And then our fun event that we get to do, not really as a fundraiser, but to really recognize our teachers and staff, is our Teacher of the Year program, luncheon that we do every year. It's in May, it's the first Tuesday, and thanks to our partner with Westridge Church, they provide the space. And we have a awesome time recognizing these teachers from every school and the staff from our district all the way into each school that have excelled at what they do and giving the best every day. So those are the fun things that the foundation gets to be a part of. The other thing I'll tell you is that we have a program that allows our corporate sponsors to be a part of our foundation year-round. And so if your business is interested in being a year-round partner, we can talk to you about that in more detail. That allows us to grow things. Last year, one of the things we were able to do was to give over $3,000 into our special needs department by those sponsors. So that's one of the things that we get to do. And we look for those opportunities. There's plenty of need. We just try to spread it out. I know Ellis is here. Ellis helped us get our hay off the trucks the first year of our Extreme Field Day, and a lot of things going on with that. So thank you to you for what you do every day. If you're interested in being a booth sponsor at this event, we still have some booth spaces available, although I expect that we'll run out like we do every year. If you want to be a sponsor, we do have several opportunities for that as well. My cards I'm going to put on the back table. If you're interested in partnering somehow with us, we'd love to educate you on what we do and make sure there's a great fit. Thank you. Cliff, anything else?
Thank you for coming out and speaking with us today. I've got a
Thank you,
little
Fred. Oh, thank you.
parting gift for you, a little desk set there, and I'll give you your
Oh, okay, thank
key
you.
back.
Yes, sir, thank you. Thank you for having me.